What's going on out there, Anchorage? Got my partner in crime, is Sara Boyer, on here with me again tonight.
Hello.
So, what's new and what's happening, Sarah?
Oh dear.
Oh
I
dear.
am sharing real quick to Taking Back Encourage. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, today was an interesting day. Um, there was, who was it? Marissa had mentioned or shared a invite that she saw at Carl's Jr. And it was for basically like a let's unite against the masks, against the mandates situation
mm-hmm.
at 36 and C, which actually was 36 and A. I've lived here my whole life, and I can never remember where it splits from A to C. Anyways, taking back Anchorage. So, anyways, I shared it to you, Taking Back Anchorage. About four people, four of us, 4 or 5 of us showed up. He was the only one that showed up other than us.
Right.
And then towards the end, there was another one of her friends that did show up, which was nice. The reactions we received were a little different than I thought. I figured at almost a year into this that, you know, people would be like, yeah. And that's really not what happened. Now I was driving home thinking of it because I overthink everything. And there were a few people that I saw just wave. And so I was wondering maybe if some of them didn't want to honk, uh, possibly because they were maybe scared that people would hear or see them honk and like chase them down or something.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a little kind of out there, but I don't know. We did get some honks in support, couple woohoos, but one of the best was a guy that drove by and rolled down his window and screamed, why don't you all just fucking kill yourselves?" So, yeah, that was, it was, that one sat with me for about like 10 minutes. Because I'm
Sounds like he's letting the hate flow through him.
I was just like, how do you, like, I guess for me, is like, clearly he's like, wanting the mandates and the lockdowns to continue to save lives. And then in the other side of his mouth, he's telling people to go kill
Die.
themselves. You know, I'm just like, don't you ever think of that? Like, how does that not compete in your brain at all? Uh, so, but overall, it wasn't bad. It was just different. I mean, it was last minute. I posted it yesterday, so I wasn't expecting a ton of people to come. And then there was also a meeting I attended at 7 o'clock, and two of the school board not nominees, school board candidates, conservative candidates,
Mm-hmm.
came and spoke. And one of them was, I don't want to say her name wrong. Where did I? Of course, I minimize it. Hold on just a second. Um, One of them was Judy Eldridge.
Eldridge. Yep.
Yes. She spoke for a decent amount of time, and she was good. I mean, everything was pretty much. Hold on just a second, because I got to get. Kim was the other name um, that I can't think of, and I lost my place, but I'll look it up in a second. Uh, and she was asked if she thinks that kids should have masks on while attending school. And her answer was not the best for a lot of people. She basically said that if they're social distancing, I don't think they should be. They shouldn't be wearing them during sports, on and on. She said, though, that if it comes down to them going back to school, but having to wear masks, that she thinks that should be fine for them to wear masks and go back to school. People didn't really like that. And I can't blame them, really. If I think if people were to ask her, in maybe June or something, where people are still, not everybody, think a lot of people kind of saw the writing on the wall earlier on, but we're almost a year into this, and clearly masks do not work as well as people want to believe they do. Um, I think most people would agree with that, that are like-minded, and so saying that a year later and that being the hill you die on is a little weak, in my opinion. It's kind of like that whole thing. If we just do what they say for a couple months, we can get back to normal. And it's like, we've never read a history book.
Right.
So, yeah, it was a little, wasn't a good moment for her, I guess.
That sounds like to me, it's someone that's afraid to make a stand. It's someone that's afraid to, it sounds like to me, it's someone that's afraid to, I hate to say this, but it sounds like to me it's someone that can't make a decision on their own. And if that's the case, if they're gonna, falter under peer pressure, which obviously this is the case right now with half the people in Anchorage, then they don't deserve to be a leader, be in leadership of any kind. I think that is the case with the assembly, and I think it's the case with everybody out there that's, wearing masks. I mean, it's got to the point now where if we want to do anything, outside the house, like you came and visited me tonight while we were out eating for my birthday. And, you probably noticed I had a mask on the corner of the table. Wore it in, as soon as I got the table, took it off, didn't really put it back on the whole time. So yeah. It's not that I think that masks work, because they don't. I mean, I'm a perfect example of it. Angela's a perfect example of it. We caught COVID while wearing the damn things. So it's not that. I think a lot of people are just anymore have gotten to the point where it's like, you know what? It's almost not worth even fighting. If you're with a group of people, it's a lot easier than if you're by yourself. Most people don't want to be pinpointed out. And I wore it into the restaurant actually as a courtesy to somebody I thought was still working there. The manager that we had come to know and like is no longer there.
Really?
Yep, James is no longer there. So I don't know what happened. I don't know the circumstances behind that. I do know that supposedly he was let go, but I don't know as far as, maybe it was peer pressure, maybe customers complained. I personally thought James was a great guy. I think he took care of the people that came in there, and it sucks that he's not there anymore.
Wow.
So,
I did not get that.
Yeah, I mean,
the whole thing with masks from the very beginning, I remember it was summertime and the mask mandate happened in Anchorage. No, it was even before the mask mandate. It was when stores started mandating them. And I was just like, oh, no. Like, I just remember being like, no. And I remember sitting in my truck outside of cars, and it was the first time I needed to go to the store since they passed, like, they made it a store policy and stuff. And I was just like, okay, Sarah, shut up or shut up. Like, this is where, you gotta, walk the talk, talk the walk the talk. I don't know what I'm saying.
You came into my business last week. Did anybody force you to wear a mask?
No. And I have just recently had issues with masks. I've been very lucky. Every instance where people asked me, it was a very mild experience. They said, do you have a mask? And I said, no, I can't wear one. And they said, okay. In the very beginning. I went to cars a couple weekends ago, and the woman that was there, who looked like a manager, I don't know if she was, but she kind of looked like she was, watched me walk in without a mask. I grabbed my few items and I went to check out, and she said, you need to be wearing a mask in order to purchase the items. And I was like, I won't say anything, we can just, like, I was trying to, I had like 3 items. And she was like, no, you need to wear a mask. And I was like, okay, what if I do this? Like, no, you need to be wearing a mask. And I'm like, your mask, you're not even wearing your mask right. Because it was below her nose. She was like, it's because I'm talking to you. I can't sit back up. Then a cop came up behind me, but he was just there for personal. It wasn't like he was there to like enforce anything. And I'm not about like making a scene or anything. I nowhere else was open. It was in the Eagle River. It was late, so they were the only ones open. And I needed the stuff, so I was just like, ugh. So I grabbed it, put it on, paid, took it off, said thank you without the mask on, and walked out. I mean, it was just the most ridiculous experience I've had thus far, because it was just, I mean, I could just pick it apart. I'm sure everybody listening already is, because it's just like so stupid. And then Costco. People saw my video I posted. I normally insert my Costco orders. I know I shouldn't even be shopping at Costco, but it is what it is at this point. I only usually do like once a month, and my driveway was not shoveled, and so I didn't want to make my Instacart people walk through my snowy driveway. So I was like, I'll just go. I wore the half guy on. And as soon as I went in, and I planned on taking it off, and then they asked me to put it on, and I could put it back on, because that's what happened when I went months ago. Anyway, and he said, oh, you have to wear a full shield. And he handed me a, like, disposable shield that I'm sure they've purchased and for people like me. And I was like, I just looked at him and I was like, this shit is getting ridiculous. And I was like, I know it's not your fault. You're just doing your job, but this is getting ridiculous. And he kind of was just like, but it's like getting worse, which is interesting because the vaccine has come out. Multiple vaccines have come out.
3.
Numbers across the board are going down, and I feel like it's getting worse.
Right.
And people from the very beginning of the whole thing with the masks, I'm like, why does it not matter what mask you wear? Why could you literally go and buy $1.99 fabric at Joann's, which is, if you guys do remember, I know when masks became the thing, it was like a bum rush. Every woman with a sewing machine was making these masks and mass producing them with fabric bought at Joann's or Michael's or, and I'm like, how is that
so
is that a thing? How is that okay?
I have a different take on that, and you're right. There was like mass people out there buying stuff and making masks. So I have a different take on that. I don't think that everybody went out there that was making masks thought that they helped people. I thought that a lot of people went out there and started making them because they thought they could make some extra cash. Well, because there's people out there that'll spend $100 on masks like a month.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's very true. And that's the thing about capitalism in general. I mean, people complain about capitalism. It's like Bernie Sanders, with that whole thing, with his mittens and all that.
And how many houses does he have?
Well, exactly. I mean, and I'm not mad at people for wanting to make a buck. I don't care. But it's just like, what? Like, you can wear whatever basically you want to wear over your face. That doesn't make any sense. So, but yeah, it was just a very interesting little answer that one rep had. And then Judy mentioned a couple of times in different ways on different, questions, really the importance of making sure that we stay involved. He said that, we need to be there to essentially drown out the other voices. And it kind of brought me back to when I went to one of the ASD board meetings, me, you, and Angela. And remember when it was the first time I ever testified ever, and they made me wear a mask to testify.
Yeah, which is completely ridiculous.
That? I just looked at her like, you are an idiot.
And you weren't any closer than like 10 feet from these people either.
Yeah. I'm just like, oh, this is happening. Anyway, and I remember I witnessed firsthand, it literally you started out with like 3 of the women who were kind of like, no, I don't want to change the name of East High.
Right.
And you saw the progression firsthand
over like 2 hours.
Them getting bullied.
Yep.
Into agreeing to it. I mean, it was incredible.
Yep. If you don't do this, you're racist.
Yeah. I mean, it was just like, whoa. Like,
and they bought into it.
Yeah, it was a very eye-opening experience because, and the people that called in, I mean, when was this? This was like, what, October we went or something?
Well, and they were getting, in their defense, and this is the only thing in their defense, was they had at least 4 or 5 members of the Congressional Black Caucus call in.
Yes.
And guilt them into changing the name of that.
Yes.
And then, of course, the one lady that really kept pushing, that was a board member, she was she the only black woman on the board?
Yes.
Okay, so she was really pushing it hard, and I understand her reasoning behind it, but she would not take no for an answer.
No.
At all.
Well, and that's really, I mean, really what it kind of comes down to. I think that, everything that happened with Jamie Allard, I remember messaging her and saying, good job for standing your ground. Because, that's what we need more of, I mean, what she was saying and what she was talking about was speech. And, of course, people want to take it and just run with it and make it something that it wasn't.
Well, it's become such a double standard for Democrats versus conservatives, and one of the big things on that is, like, look at Zach Fields as an example. Okay, this is the asshole that, and I mean asshole, flat out, that he's a rep in the Senate, and he attacked me in a community council meeting. Didn't even know me, because we decided to drive around the mayor's house, and my name was attached to it, so I got attacked over it. Never said a word to the guy. Didn't even know who the guy was. And he attacks me in a community council meeting. Now, move forward 2 months, or whatever it's been. I think it's been 2 months. And he makes sexist comments on the floor of the Senate, or the House, whatever the hell it is he's in, about another Anchorage rep, Sarah Rasmussen, about how she could stop traffic. She could stop traffic with her short skirt. Now, he was reading that from somebody here in Anchorage, but he made light of it in public, in a professional setting. The he called me sexist and racist and shit. Meanwhile, he's out there doing it, in a professional setting where it's public. I never did any of that stuff.
Yeah, and I think that really just goes, again, it speaks to, and I've been saying this for a while, like, a lot of people, I don't want to say everyone, okay, because I don't want to put everyone in a box, but a lot of these people that are, behaving this way, that is that's how they get what they get, is they don't stop until they get what they get. And there's no compromise. And so it's really hard to, everything with the assembly, I think I've been to every single assembly meeting except for 2 when I was sick. And I've seen and listened to so many amazing testimonies, and I've read emails of people sending in their testimonies, doctors, people, medical professionals, trying to urge them to open back up, people just dropping facts and statistics and data, and none of it has made any bit of difference. And, as much as you have, like, one of the owners of a local restaurant here, and, it's hard because I know I'm not a business owner, so I respect everyone in there on it, and I'm not the one that has the money on the line and the energy and the time and the commitment into it. So I, of course, respect whatever they choose to do with regard to adhering to the mandates or whatever. But I don't think everyone truly understands that the assembly and the mayor the acting mayor, have them in their hands.
Oh, that's a fact.
You know, they literally have them in a checkmate. The moment that they agreed to adhere to everything is the moment that they had them. Now, the first 2 weeks to flatten the curve, I think everybody was kind of like, fine, you know, it makes sense, it's new, whatever. But this whole 25%, 50%, da 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 da, like adhering to that and not, you know, standing up against that is, you know, it's allowing them to know how far they can push it.
Well,
Again, I know it's not my business, but I really wish they would wake up and understand, like, being their friend or being on their good side so that they don't make your life hell isn't helping you. It's prolonging the inevitable. And the inevitable is that they're not going to open up unless they want to open up.
Right. Well, and you know, there's some things that I think is kind of comical with the percentages that they want to use. So, like with my business, so 50% is kind of like our normal clientele. I mean, you know, unless we have like a huge event going and we have a ton of people in the building, spectators and that kind of stuff, we never hit um, our capacity. Yeah. And, you know, like our capacity is like 350 people and, you know, we've only got 26 lanes. So you can only put six times 26. So what is that? Like 140 people, 130 people, yeah, something like that. Right. And that's who would be there customer wise. And you got your employees. So that's another 5 or 6 people. And then, you know, so, I mean, we're like literally 50% gives us our normal clientele unless we have like a big event. And then, you know, then it would push us up to probably 200 people. So we'd only be 100 people, yeah, short. But, you know, you go into Costco, what the hell's their capacity? It's got to be like close to 1,000. And I've never gone in there without there being at least 50 to 100 people in the building. And, you know, I don't know, you know, I think the restaurants are the ones that are hurting for this. You know, obviously going into like Bear Paw tonight, they had a whole bunch of empty tables and they were all like, you know, spread apart. And, you know, and they were actually relatively busy for, you know, what they're dealing with.
And I've never, you know, the restaurants I visit, I don't wear a mask into. And I've never had an issue with that. You know, I think the biggest thing, the interesting thing for me is how they keep saying, believe, you know, follow the science, follow the science, follow the science. And all they do is pick and choose the science to follow, right? You know, the CDC has come out saying that kids need to be back in school. There was a whole video on YouTube. There's a gentleman, or it's a channel called Walk, Don't Run, I think is what it's called. And he basically does these videos, and they're just great because they pull clips. And it was this whole segment, this whole video about how the Biden administration will not give a straightforward answer on their position on if kids should be going back to school. Right. And it all comes down to, oh, the CDC. Well, the CDC says they should be back in school. You know, and I remember this was like the lady that was at the assembly or the community council meeting in Eagle River. The ASD rep came, and I said, you guys pick what data or what CDC guidelines to follow. The CDC came out saying in October, saying the kids should be back in school.
Yep.
It's follow the science, follow the CDC guidelines until we don't want to follow the guidelines. Mm-hmm. And so that's really what they do is they pick and choose what science to follow, and they make really shitty decisions based on everything's changing and we're constantly learning about the virus. The only thing that really hasn't changed is your capacity limit for restaurants. They've always been low.
Crap.
And, you know, and it's like the only, you know, and it's like banging your head against the wall. Like at some point you go, okay, we're making these restrictions, but are they actually working? And you go out and about and nothing, if it wasn't for the dang masks and the signs about the masks and all that, you wouldn't notice anything different. You know, people are going back to normal, whether they like it or not, you know, and like the whole thing with the mask too. You telling me to wear a mask or whoever to wear a mask isn't going to make me wear a mask.
Right.
The people that are wearing masks are going to continue wearing masks. The people that don't wear masks are going to continue not wearing masks. So putting a mask mandate on and continuing this isn't going to help anything.
Well, and the thing is that the assembly doesn't realize. Okay, so and this is one of the things I may mention at the next one. So, and this is, I think responsible people, the ones that really don't want to get people sick or whatever, the ones that are living in fear, they're going to continue to wear their masks whether or not the Anchorage Assembly says, okay, you're done with it. Yep. They're just going to do it. I mean, look at China. They were wearing masks way before this ever came out. A lot of it was pollution and stuff over in China. But, it's one of those things where if they believe that they're going to get sick, they're going to wear a mask. If they're not going to believe they're not going to be sick, they're not going to wear a mask. So eventually, the assembly is going to have to trust their constituents to act accordingly. And, right, instead of directing us to do certain things, they're going to have to start learning that we can think for ourselves, and we'll do what we think is right for ourselves. And, piss on you. That's kind of the way I look at it. It's kind of the point now where, the thing that worries me about this whole thing where them pushing everything is what they've started with the cancel culture shit. Like Rosa during Christmas, she went out and went shopping at a toy store. And she got attacked by not only the people that worked there, but the customers that were inside while she was with her kids. Yeah. That's the kind of shit that I hate to see. And that's why I think, going in with a group and stuff like that, personally, I'm a big enough person that most people are not going to bother me if I'm not walking around without a mask on. I may see like a little 80-year-old grandma that may give me dirty looks or something like that. But in her case, if that's the case, she probably shouldn't be out shopping if she's worried she's going to catch COVID. Now, I've got seniors that bowl at my center, and half of them wear masks. I have one lady, I shit you not, I have a picture of this lady, and I need to share it with you. This woman wears a face mask, like a face visor. And now, she's trying to keep her saliva from hitting other people. But I've seen her sneeze in this thing 2 or 3 times. So the whole inside of the face mask is covered with snot, with whatever. Now, on top of that, she wears a stupid neck fan that comes down and hangs like right here. So not only is she breathing inside this mask and the shit's going up and down, and she's sneezing in it, so the shit's going up and down. Now she's got a fan blowing it right out of her visor into the air. So you tell me how effective that is. The insanity.
The insanity is right. It's I remember when I attended one of your community council meetings, and the lady that came on, and I watched a video of a man that was in the military, and he was crying because he was putting bodies in. I'm like, I feel like you got to be a little question that kind of stuff, and it's a very
well, here's one of the scare tactics that they did was like, oh my God, we rented a refrigeration truck for the hospital. Well, I don't know if anyone.
Did you hear that somebody had said that was actually rented to keep like testing kits and stuff?
Well, that was part of that. But here's the thing: most hospitals keep those actually on hand in case there is a biohazard. Because if somebody comes in, say with like there's a couple different diseases out there. If you come in and you came in from another country like Brazil or something, and you had a biohazard on you, and you could not be treated in there, or if you died or whatever, they don't keep you in the hospital or put you in the morgue. They want you out of the building. Yeah. So they keep these reefer trucks on the side of the building. So, them letting this out, saying that we have a reefer truck and everything else. Well, of course, people here had this in their mind that, oh my God, they're throwing dead bodies in there, and there's like thousands of them. And, we're going to have the Walking Dead going down the streets here in the next week. That was completely horseshit. And you're right. They probably use those for testing kits. Well, not testing kits. I think that they might have used them for the shots, because
it was something to do with the either shots or the testing kits or whatever. And that's the thing about it, is I'm not suggesting that, okay, the person that told me that, she said it was her, I think, brother-in-law who said that, who works at the hospital. So I'm not going to sit here and make a post about it and be like, oh, believe this. I'm just saying that there's enough information out there that is contrary to everything that they're doing. You know, there's enough things out. Like, I just think about that kind of stuff. I think about there's a goal behind everything anyone does. You know, uh, and so I think about that. What's their goal in doing this? Why is the only thing they've tried from the beginning of all of this, them being the assembly,
Well,
been to lock healthy people away? And you know, you go into the whole thing like people, okay, this is a bigger picture. This is, you know, to crush small businesses and all that. And I'm not saying that's not true, but I'm also there's again, you know, it's all about the minority, like lifting this minority, and
mhm.
that's what they do is like we need to protect this small group of people. It doesn't matter if the greater group of people are impacted negatively. It's all about protecting or lifting up the voice of this smaller group of people. And to a degree, I think that that's valid. I think that it's okay to do that. It's okay to say, hey, we have a group of people that are struggling. How can we help them?
Right.
But it's like they take it to a whole other level. And I guess that's my big overall picture of what they've done and how they've managed this in Anchorage is they've made the same decision, okay, the entire time. They've never tried anything else.
Hmm.
It's stay home, you know, don't have any fun, you know, don't go out to bars, don't go out to restaurants to eat. You can go to Target and shop for curtains, you know, new decor in your house. That's fine, okay? But it's not okay for you to go and sit down and have dinner at a restaurant.
Right.
And it's like, do you really think that restaurants are this mass spreader event? It couldn't be grocery stores that have 10 times the amount of people in them. You know, it couldn't be the fact that when you had COVID, you were able to walk back out of the hospital unaccompanied, and you could have went and licked all the doorknobs and sprayed your snot everywhere. Like that kind of stuff matters to me. Like, why is it okay for people to travel nut to butt and they can go to Cabo and they can go on a girls trip or whatever, but people can't be in the delivery room or the ultrasound room with their wife
Hmm.
when they, you know, to hear a heartbeat? Like, are you serious? Why was there 25,000 people allowed at the Super Bowl, but people can't have funerals for their people?
Well,
Like,
I
why don't you
think
think of this?
I think when you think about things as a larger part, you know, you look at this, it's affected the entire United States. It's affected us up here personally because we live here. But I think what if you look at the larger picture of everything, and we all know this, but I'm going to state the obvious probably to most people, but it's become political. And the thing is, you tell a lie enough, it becomes the truth. And when you get a group of people and you scare them enough, then you convince them that you're the people who are going to help them, or you're going to be the ones that is going to cure them. Then what you're doing is you're actually creating a voter base. And whenever that happens, they have to deliver on this. That's where the vaccine comes in. That's where the mask mandates come in. You're going to have to uh, lie your asses off. And I hate to say this, but Dunleavy's just as guilty of this as anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, think about all the people that hated him last year or before COVID
Sorry
hit.
off him.
Before COVID hit, those same people that hated him then are not talking shit about him now. These are the same people that wanted to do the recall on him. They're not talking crap about him now online. Now it's us talking crap about him because he's not listening to the people who actually put him in there. It's
Yes, I agree. And I forgot
what's
one
that?
thing. Saturday, I attended the town hall with Merrick, Reinbold, and I forget his name. And I'm not trying to be mean, but he is just kind of like a wet paper towel.
Mm-hmm.
He was very like, so. But anyways, our reps for Eagle River, and that it is in the event section of Taking Back Anchorage. I recommend watching it, even if you're not part of Eagle River. couple things happened. Kelly Merrick obviously crossed party lines. People were really pissed. And she couldn't hear
Oh, yeah,
during
yeah,
the
yeah.
thing,
Heard about this.
but didn't say anything. We didn't know she couldn't hear until Annie came up to speak and was like, can you hear me? And she just sat there. Because the guy before, oh no, it wasn't even, it was the guy before her, sorry. And he was like, I have a question for you. He asked her something, and she just sat there because she was on Zoom. And it came out that she couldn't hear. I'm like, why wouldn't you say anything?
Right.
If you couldn't hear, you're the people you represent. Why wouldn't you be like, hey, I can't hear them? And we know why. I mean, he's obviously a coward. But it was very interesting. Also, later on, we're asking questions. This woman stands up in the back. She's like, I just want to know if you guys don't believe in COVID, if you don't think it's real, why are none of you wearing masks? And makes this huge scene. It's this huge to do. And I'm like, okay, first of all, there was like 5 or 6 people that were wearing masks. Okay. And there was probably about 40 people in there, 40 maybe. So it wasn't everybody not wearing a mask. But anyway, it was just very interesting because if you go watch it, it's a good thing to watch, I think, because it was interesting to see how she came out and she said, I just want to know if you guys like don't believe in COVID because none of you are wearing masks. Guy stands up and he goes, look, I have a respiratory issue. I can't wear, and he basically gave it back to her. Like, I can't wear a mask. That's why I'm not wearing a mask. And she's like, okay, that's fine. It's a question. And she got very like annoying about it. You know, that like where I'm gonna be like, and then I was like, I don't know why you're yelling at me. You know what I mean? I hate those type of people. If you're gonna be an asshole, just be an asshole. Don't be a fake asshole. Don't be an asshole and then act like we're crazy for coming at you with the same amount of energy.
Right.
So that was interesting. Like 3 or 4 people asked Merrick to resign. There was also, what is his Todd? Lacey knows. I do not like this man. Me and him went at it, and he was in the comments. Oh, he was in the comments of his Politidick went live. And because the Zoom call, the audio sucked. And Politidick went live, and so it was much better to hear and everything. And he was on that call, this Todd guy, and I'm going to find it while I'm talking, and he is like the Matsu, he works in Matsu, but he's like works for the governor. Okay. And he was in the comment section basically.
Is that Todd Smolden?
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically like trolling Reinbold when she talked, which was annoying. And I finally said to him, like, we get it. You and your puppet master don't like her. But guess what? A lot of people do. Like, shut up. you know?
Right.
But that was interesting too. And him and I actually went into, I didn't know who he was. And again, for people that don't know, I'm newer to this. So I didn't know who this guy was. And he basically, I told Dunleavy on one of Dunleavy's posts that, you know, you're weak and you need to, you know, stand up for your constituents in Anchorage and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I said he was weak, and he like came on, I think somebody tagged him or something. He came on and basically called me, this is a tactic of the left to you know, attack somebody with names or whatever. I'm like, I'm literally saying that my representative is weak or that my governor is weak. I'm not, you know, name calling. I'm not telling him, you know, that he's a POS or anything, saying he's weak. But anyways, we went at it back and forth for a little bit, and I didn't know who he was. And then I think it was Lacey who told me who he was. I'm like, oh, I'm making friends.
Well, you know, there's been other people. I mean, earlier this week, or well, not this week, last week, Dan Fagan had Glenn Cleary, the Republican chair for Alaska, on there, and you know, Dan was pushing him. You know, why does the GOP keep backing Murkowski when she's obviously a rhino? And he had some really good points against Glenn. And Glenn's like, well, we're the party where, we're open-minded, and, just because she thinks differently than most of us, why does that make her a rhino? I mean, he was literally like kissing Lisa's ass. And I'm thinking, well, you Dan, you want your answer. You look at who you're talking to and look how he's talking about her. That's your answer. Whenever you got rhinos, I hate to say this, and I may get skewered by people that like the guy. I don't care. But when you got people that are in the party as the president, and they're backing someone that's obviously one of the biggest rhinos in the country with Lisa, and you're not listening to the people who, I would say the majority now that don't want her in there, then you're part of the problem. And Dunleavy is, he's become a rhino. He's obviously not listening to his own constituents. I don't see him getting voted back in, unless, Berkowitz runs. Then I might have to hold my nose. But, he's as bad now as a governor as Berkowitz was as a mayor.
Well, and I think that's the biggest thing. I remember somebody saying that he got really, really kind of sad after the call got filed, months and months and months back. And I'm like, see, that speaks volumes about him. So you're basically saying that the people that didn't even vote for you, their opinion matters so much that it's going to impact how you feel.
Mm-hmm. Or how you govern.
How you govern, how you conduct yourself. And then another thing was when everything happened with the mask thing, when he was caught on camera without a mask.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If he would have come out from the beginning and said masks are not mandated, which they weren't by, Alaska weren't, but he went on all the time saying, wear a mask. I know I don't like them, but everyone should wear a mask. No, if you say it's your personal choice to wear a mask or not, if he would have done that from the beginning, it wouldn't have been a big deal that he got caught without a mask. And that's what keeps happening to, I believe, the Republican Party. And, being newer to all of this and everything, my eyes have been open to how screwed up the Republican Party is in general, not just Alaska, but across the board.
Yep.
And it's really making me feel more like I'm more libertarian than I am, Republican, just because I'm like, screw all government. Like, all government is bad, And so I
would call you, honestly, knowing the politics and stuff, I would call you probably right-leaning libertarian.
Yeah, the thing is, I definitely have conservative values.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I think actually more people have conservative values than they think they do. I think there's a lot of people out there that are, they're not about politics and they're like, whatever. And if they really dived into it and all that, they would find that they have more conservative values than they really think they do. I would never have guessed that just the words conservative and liberal, like taking away their attachment politically, to me, liberal is like, cool, fun. Like, that's me. I'm like, no drama llama. Let's have fun and chill. And so conservative always was like a stick in the mud to me,
right.
But I didn't know that it was more attached to, other values that I do possess. So, but.
Well, there's a saying, and I'll tell you what this is. There's a saying that I was taught when I was in high school, or even further back than that, actually. So when you're born and you're a young person, you're usually Democrat or a liberal, because you have heart. And then whenever you become an adult, you become a conservative because you start to use your brain. And it's the truth. I mean, you look at some of these people out there that are that are liberals, and it's like their brain has ceased to stop. They're bleeding heart. They want to help everybody, and at least they act like they do. And then you start using your brain, and now you're a Nazi, and you start thinking for yourself, and you're against everybody that's out there. And the problem that the Republican Party has is versus the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party, they can say whatever they want to, and they'll have other people back them on it. The Republican Party gets in trouble for a mask like Dunleavy, and no one backs him up on it, right? So it used to be you could make a mistake or you could do something stupid and you could shake it off and move on. Now, cancel culture's in the mix. You do something stupid and they scream and holler, and this is even in Hollywood. Look at what the hell's her name, Gina Carano. Okay, she was kicked off the fucking Mandalorian, one of the most popular shows out there, and it was one of the most popular characters that was introduced into that damn show, and she got kicked out because she's got conservative values.
And she, she stood her ground, which I think is great. And Tiffany, I was gonna say, I'm with you, girl. I feel like basically saying she's new to politics isn't a lot, doesn't know a party. I've always been registered independent or undeclared or whatever. My dad always told me just to do that, so you're not pigeonholed or whatnot. It's a little bit different political environment than it was 20 years ago, when he told me that. But I think a lot of it comes down to you have to be true to yourself, even if it's not popular. It's not popular for me to be like, I don't think masks work that well, and I don't think we should mandate people to wear them. It's not popular for me to say that, ever. I've gotten into some fights with some of the people that I love the most over this, okay? But you have to stick to what you believe is right, even if it doesn't seem like people agree with it. So, and then yes, Scott, if you go to Politidics Facebook, it'll be on there.
You mentioning that, some of the people that you love and care about, you've gotten into fights over this. The same thing here. I mean, the guy that married me and Angela, one of my best friends growing up all the way through elementary school, middle school, high school. Obviously, I think highly of the guy. He married us when we got married in Colorado, 10 years ago, and me and him politically don't mesh. And he hated Trump. I mean, he absolutely hated Trump. He's the kind of guy that I would have never, ever in my life would have thought that he'd have voted for Hillary. And, he, as far as I know, he probably did. If he didn't vote at all. And I never asked him, but he's a gun guy. And I know that the Democrats are wanting to really start hitting the guns right now. So, I almost want to say, how's that party treating you? You ready to give up your handgun? And, we grew up in a different society. I'm obviously a little bit older than you are. You're still a young whippersnapper. I'm 45 fucking years old now. So, it's like the tax bracket, right? You hit a certain thing and you're going,
I know.
You hit a certain
tax bracket, or you bump into a different age, mark the box. What age group are you in? I'm like, wow.
I'm officially. So when you hit 45, you officially become midlife crisis. I was good until I hit 45. Now it's like, okay, what kind of fucking Corvette do I want? How quick do I want to kill myself? Driving these fast cars or something. 45 is literally like midlife crisis range. And it's like, I was looking yesterday, I was telling Angela, I'm like, I really want to buy a drum set again. And, she's like, well, you can go pick that up for yourself. I'm not going to help you on that one.
Yeah.
But, it's I grew up in a conservative family, and they weren't political. But they had conservative values. My dad worked his ass off, blue collar type stuff. My mom was licensed daycare. We did foster care and stuff like that for kids. And, it was just a regular, typical blue collar family. We grew up in blue collar town. And, the teachers we had, most of them were blue collar. We hunted, we fished, we had guns. I took guns to school in the back of my truck because we hunted after school was over with. And, you say that to somebody now, and they're going to think you're like the Antichrist. I mean, it's gotten so bad. And here's the thing, and this is the one thing that I wish I would have saved these because I had a set of them. If you were to go up and you were to give a kid like an Encyclopedia Britannica, they wouldn't know what to do with the damn thing.
Well, I think that's the thing that, kind of building off what you said about nobody backs Republicans, another big part of it is like media. I know people talk about that and whatnot, but I don't necessarily think people really understand how much control media has on people, and the information that's given out to people, they pick and choose what they want to tell you, and if you have a group of people that don't ask questions, or they don't dig into anything more, or they just read headlines, you can really spin a pretty sensational narrative. And I think what's interesting with people like, there's somebody that said, or there's a quote, like a meme or something that's like, if you idolize a politician, same as thinking the stripper likes you, and it's true. You think of like Trump, and people are like, love him. And I think the big part that I think a lot of people on the left don't understand is that they love him because he's not a politician. Technically, yeah, you can call him one because he was the president, right? But he is the only, like, I remember when the first stimulus or second stimulus tried to pass, and it was where although everybody found out exactly how much was going to foreign countries, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember posting in Taking Back Anchorage, and I don't post a lot about Trump in there just because it's about Anchorage and Alaska mostly, but I said, this is why I voted for him.
Yep.
That's the thing that I think a lot of people on the left don't understand. They hate him because he is not your standard president, right? He's not presidential. He's rough around the edges. He's not going to sweet talk you. And it's like, that's why people love him, because he came in and he opened up a lot of people's eyes. And regardless of, like I said, if I find out or I feel like I'm more libertarian than I am Republican or whatever, right? Regardless of that, I will always have a profound appreciation for Donald Trump for opening my eyes, because I think he also opened a lot of people's eyes. And I do believe, even though it sounds like we're not, I do think that we are at a tipping point.
Mm-hmm.
We're at this point where you have a mountain, okay, and we've been climbing, it's just getting worse and worse and worse, and we're tired, and we're like right here where shit is going to have to get better. It cannot continue this way. I think the pandemic, has really opened people's eyes too. And I believe the virus is real, but I do believe it was politicized. I believe they dropped that. They made it way worse than it is for a reason. Okay. And, anytime, my mom always used to say, what a wicked web you weave when you practice to whatever it is, that saying. And I felt from the beginning, anytime you do something, anyone, a group of people, individual, whatever, anytime you do something that isn't, the foundation of it isn't on the up and up, and it's shitty and it's shady, anytime you do anything that's not on the up and up, there's always going to be a reaction from it that you cannot anticipate, because it's not genuine.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, what's happening is people, I've seen it. There's a gentleman who, worked on the Felix Rivera campaign for assembly, who is now.
Yeah, he's tried and true patriot.
He's, because it's just, you're seeing the true colors. You're seeing this become not, it's too much.
Well,
my friend messaged me saying, Sarah, you have inspired me. Like, I'm done. I followed the rules and I'm done now because it's too weird for me. I'm like, I know. I'm glad you're here now, but I've been this way for months. But it is getting too weird for people now. You're releasing prisoners and not just giving them masks. You're shutting down indoor dining, but then putting up a tent for,
right.
In California, that thing. I mean, all these things that are coming.
You can't go inside, but you can go out. You can go inside, outside.
It gets weird for people. And so I do think that everything, Donald Trump, if he's never president again or whatever, just if anything else, what there's always a reason for a season, right? And I think that that was his job was sent to us, if you will, to
Yeah.
wake us up. There's
Well,
always a lesson behind everything that happens, and I think that that was his lesson for us.
well, I think the reason he got elected. Now, everybody's known of Donald Trump since what the early '80s. I mean, he's been on the scene for a long, long, long time. Made a lot of real estate deals. Dealt with people. He was always there's a special that you could watch on Netflix on some of the stuff he dealt with. But the thing that attracted people to Trump was both his celebrity and how not only his celebrity but also how he treated other people
Mm-hmm.
before he ran for president. There's stories where the ice rink he ended up helping the ice rink and getting it built and everything under under time and under budget. And then there was a deal where his limo had broken down, and somebody stopped and changed a tire or something on the limo, and he paid the guy's mortgage off. There's Jennifer, I can't remember what her name is. She's a singer. One of her family members died, and he put her up in his hotel for more than a year.
Well, and that's the thing about it is that even before, I mean, I remember Obama started in the second term of Obama where shit was starting to get like cancel culture was brewing and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, why didn't we hear about Donald Trump being a douchebag back then?
Right.
Like, why did it never come out in like this huge way? Why are there dozens of pictures of Donald Trump with rappers, celebrities, and politicians? I want to run for president. I mean, that matters, I think.
Well, and here's the thing. Okay, so he ran Celebrity Apprentice, and look how many people were on Celebrity Apprentice. I mean, celebrities, right? You had Snoop Dogg, and you had I can't even name them all. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
But they obviously
they let him have that show.
Well, yeah, but the thing is they obviously thought highly about the guy because they wanted to know where they fit in according to him. And as soon as he came down the stairs, he became the world's largest political joke. And he turned it completely on its head. And, people resonated with what he had to say. And I mean, obviously he kicked the living crap out of Hillary. And
well, and that's what's funny about it too for me is that, there's people out there that just all they keep focusing on is Orange Man bad, blah, blah. And they never stop to think like, why do so many people love him? Why? Well, it's because he's not a politician. It's because he hasn't been in office for 50 years practically and hasn't done anything. That's why. And Tiffany said, "See, that's where I have a hard time because I firmly believe the Constitution are right, but I hate that Republicans don't stand up to people because I can't help but stand up for two people, but I definitely don't want to be associated with the Democrats Act. That's why I love Trump because he's not a politician who does and says what's needed." And that's the thing about it that's always been interesting to me is that, kind of what I was trying to get to earlier and I got sidetracked is media. Okay, if you have a situation where you think of Cuomo. Okay, multiple people have come out. Women have said that he sexually assaulted or whatever, right? Or sexually
there's 3 of them now.
Harassed him. 3, yeah. Okay. And has ADN or KTU done an article about it?
Nope.
Not a one.
And how many people did he end up killing?
One. Yeah. And how many exactly? How many Democratic I can go back and look at I have stuff saved. There were multiple and including a few Republican, right? Like Dunleavy's one of them with the mask thing. But multiple Democratic ran cities or states fucking their own man.
Mm-hmm.
And it made local news, but it never made it to ADN or KTU.
No.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So media plays just as much of a role in this as we do as Republicans and not backing people. I think that when you have people that do bad things or do questionable things, and if they're they're pushed to the top and they're put to, say 100 different publications, but then you have the same act by somebody that is Democrat and they're pushed to 3 or 4, that is going to make things look real bad for Republicans. So
I just sent you a message on your
uh-huh.
phone. I didn't want to bring it up on here, but you can answer me that through a text or whatever. But huh?
Haven't.
You haven't yet?
I mean, I'm pretty sure. The thing with our mayoral, I hate that word, mayoral
Mayoral?
race, mayoral,
Judicial.
yeah, mayoral race is, um, you know, I've I've gone to multiple Bronson events and then multiple uh, Robbins events, and I there were I had some personal issues with getting on board. It had nothing to do with Bronson at all. It was me. It was all me. Um, and I was definitely leaning more towards Robbins. Um, you know, and I think that what it kind of comes down to for me is who is the most authentic candidate, who you know, I didn't really like that Robbins was basically kind of going, we need a candidate that's electable. It kind of gives me a little bit of Rhino vibes, to be 100% honest, just because it goes back to kind of that whole thing about, oh, if they can go back to school, as long as they can go back to school, it's fine if they wear a mask. Like, why are you compromising? You know? I don't
So,
necessarily like that standpoint, or even not even that standpoint. I mean, for you to make that point once or twice is fine, but kind of running your whole campaign on the fact that we need to somebody that's electable, you know.
so I'll tell you why I chose how I chose, um, or how I came to backing the guy that I'm backing. So, two main things for me. One was when we were sick, when me and Angela were sick. One guy, and I've talked to both of them. One guy reached out to me to find out how we were, and pretty much everybody in Anchorage knew that we were sick. I mean, I had crap showing up at my house. I mean, it was like ridiculous how much food we had.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that to me, that's kind of a testament of how many people I've reached and how many people I've talked to, and um, you know, kind of how I feel toward other people too. But Bronson reached out to me, and I mean more than once. How are we
Yeah.
doing? How are we doing? How are we doing? We communicated a couple times when he was sick and he had COVID, and I checked on him, see how he was doing, and him and his wife actually both had it, and I took that personal. I mean, that felt like a friend reaching out saying, "Hey, how you doing? Is there anything we can do?" That was one, and the other thing that was big for me is the fact that the leading Democratic um, contender or candidate,
Candidate.
the only person he's attacking is Bronson. He's not gone after Robbins that I've seen. He's not gone after Evans that I've seen. He's not gone after any other Democrat that I've seen. He's gone strictly after Bronson. So that tells me that Bronson was probably the biggest threat. And it may have something to do with that's the person Jamie wants. I don't know, but
Yeah. He definitely the platform
to
based
me,
off of Jamie for sure.
I think if you could look at it this way, Dunbar is our piece that we could be solidified against, and with Dunbar attacking Bronson, that's a pretty good indication that that's the guy we want. I mean, now I've said this several different times in different videos. Both guys, Mike and Dave, are both good guys. They get along. They've never attacked each other. They've never thrown mud at each other. Can't say that for Mike and Evans, though. Bill Evans and Mike kind of got into it a little bit and had some mudslinging going toward
Well,
the end
there's
of the debate.
that debate. Yeah, Evans actually came across more conservative than I thought he would.
I think it's an act.
Yeah, no, and I mean he was his experience definitely shined through as far as how he chose the words for
Mm-hmm.
his answers.
Career
And
politician.
that's it. Yeah, exactly. And another thing that kind of I didn't necessarily love about Robbins also is that he has had two articles where he has participated in with or Anchorage Press,
Mm-hmm.
and Anchorage Press is the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Anchorage Press compared Trump supporters to Al Qaeda.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I
I
know.
mean, and you're gonna like if they called me and they're like, "Hey, Sarah, we're doing a non-partisan you know article about how your sign in your front yard got attacked." I'd be like, "Yeah, you can suck it. Bye."
But
No,
you
I'm
know,
not giving you $1.
it
That's what you're doing. You're supporting them by because people that and so I just didn't really like that very much. One
it
thing I will say is that I believe that and Mike Robbins is not a politician, and he hasn't done anything politically, although he has participated in campaigns. He's worked on people's campaigns,
mm-hmm.
which wasn't something that was like well known. That kind of was a little weird for me too. Um,
And
you know,
I think at least one of those campaigns was a loser. I don't
yeah.
think the person that he was on the campaign with won.
And I say I don't like that Mike Robbins was like, we need somebody that's electable. I didn't like it, but it's a fair concern.
Yeah.
It is a fair concern. Um, you know, in Anchorage. If you're talking about like a governor, it's a little bit different. But with Anchorage, it is probably a fair concern. I just don't like standing on that.
Right.
I don't like that you're kind of making your spiel at the beginning of your things about that.
Right.
It's kind of a weak standpoint in my opinion. Like it's kind of like I'm not going to talk about me. I'm going to talk about how this person isn't good enough. Kind of, you know.
Well,
So.
the reason I brought this up is because of two different things. And you know what I'm talking about when I bring one of them up. So Taking Back Anchorage has never endorsed a candidate. And me and you had agreed that we were never going to do that, or we weren't going to do that at least as early as some others had.
Yeah.
And we want the people to make their decision for themselves, do their own research, talk to the candidates themselves, and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's important that you do that. And but as individuals, me and Sarah may go for Robbins, I may go for Bronson. It's not going to cause us to hate each other. I mean, look at the stuff that me and Sarah's accomplished over the last, since August or whatever it was that we met. I mean,
late July.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to vote our conscience no matter what happens. Now, if it ends up coming down to one or the other, we'll go with that guy. So I know who I'm going to vote for if I have the chance to. And, Sarah still may be making her mind up. So, but, we got some flack for that, honestly. And you know what? We stood our ground on it.
I guess, and here's the deal, and I know I've said this 17,000 times before, is I'm new to this, okay? And so there's definitely a political game that happens at the local level just as much as the state and the federal level. So, there's definitely been, feelings of, you gotta, like, I've seen people back people quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of, I was shocked by it, because I didn't realize that's how it happened. I've never been this deep into politics at all, and I'm not even that deep into it, But what I mean is that I've never participated
Right.
at all. And so for me, I'm like, I want to get to know these people. And everyone's stubborn to a certain degree, but like, you don't tell Sarah what to do. I would be like, we will be on the road trip to, a roller coaster. And then somebody go, I think you shouldn't go to the roller coaster. And I'm like flooring it to the roller coaster. Like, I just don't like that. And to be from an outsider's perspective, I'm going to be real honest. I think backing people blindly without even knowing who they are or what they're about is part of the reason why we're in the mess we're in.
And I think 100%. I think you're dead on that. So I got a comment on here, and I actually like this, and I didn't realize that there was this many in the city. But Stephanie Williams says, I think if the 146,000 conservatives were to vote, I don't think we have a problem. And I think that's spot on. I mean, think about how many people went out, took their time, went out and registered to vote, and how many people actually turn around and vote. And, if you look at, I think 20% is kind of the big number that everybody shot around since, I got into this stuff. 20% of 146,000 people ain't shit. It really is not. I mean, it's crap. No. So if you were to take the 146,000 people, I think it'd be a complete shutout. I don't think that the Democrats would have a chance ever. And I think it comes down to commitment. If you're going to register to vote, you might want to actually vote because if you don't, then what the hell's the point of even registering?
Yeah, it's interesting because I know I have not voted in every, local election. I know that. I'll be honest about that. I voted for state and federal, but
I was so removed from politics growing up. The first time I ever voted was Trump. I'll be 100% honest. The first time I ever voted was Trump. And that was the only guy next to Ross Perot, but I was too young to vote then. Those are the only two guys that I ever remember being excited that they were running. And, I mean, obviously the local people, I know a few of them that are running, and I've interacted with them. Trump I've never interacted with, but he still, whether or not he actually shared my values or not, he said he did. And I took that, at value or at face value because of what he had shown other people throughout history, throughout the time. But I think that for me, it's got to be someone that shares my values. I think for me, it's Dave. For you, it may be Mike because he may be a better businessman or whatever reason that is that you.
I feel like you think that I'm more for Robbins than I am.
No, I think that I'm saying that you could vote either way. I could care less.
No, I
know. Our friendship isn't going to change because of who you vote for. And I'm not going to tell you to vote for Dave or if somebody asks me, I have enough knowledge between the two of them, and I'm not going to blow smoke up anyone's ass. Mike's the business guy. Dave's he's going to be the guy that has my views because, we hunt, we fish, we do all that kind of stuff. I don't know if Mike does that. I could probably have a beer with both guys, but I guarantee you that if I wanted to go out and I wanted to go salmon fishing, David could probably go out there and help me out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that each one of them probably has their good qualities. I mean, personally, this would be in the perfect world. I think that if whoever it is that wins, I think if the other guy were to be able to help on the administration, I think it would be huge. If Bronson wins, get Mike in there for some of the business sense. If Dave wins, if Mike wins, get Dave in there for some of the humanitarian stuff. Because I'll tell you right now, there's not a candidate out there that cares more for the homeless people than Dave does.
Yeah. Stephanie had mentioned that we have to let everyone know it's mail-in. You'd be surprised door knocking. They don't realize that ballots drop March 15th. Last day to register is March 7th. Yeah, that's probably a good thing to, maybe I can build a flyer to.
Now, Stephanie can answer me this, and this may be I've heard this before, and this was in California. It wasn't here. And maybe this is something she can answer if she's still watching. When you register, you only have to register once. You don't have to register every single year, correct? Once you've registered, you're in. I just want to make sure that that's registering
voting.
Yes, if you register as a Republican, you're registered permanently until you change that designation, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure. California,
Well,
you have to register like every year.
Yeah, somebody was talking about that at the meeting today. They were saying basically like, why would you be undeclared? And I'm like, some other people said some stuff too, and I said, my dad was he told me to register undeclared, so you're not pigeonholed. I mean, he voted for Bush and he voted for Obama. They looked at me like I was a crazy person, but it was also much different. My dad was always told me, he was, middle of the road. Okay, but like gun to your head. And he was like, I mean, if gun to my head, I'd probably say I'm a little bit more Democrat than Republican.
So Dustin Darden had a comment on here. I gotta mention it. Dustin comes up with some pretty crazy stuff sometimes, so I gotta mention this one. Don't lick the envelope.
Oh, geez.
So when you get your envelope, make sure you dab it on like a wet rag or something, because who knows? They might have some LSD on there.
Well, and that's another thing too that's a big concern is like the mail-in voting. They all go through the Dominion machines.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting. That was another thing that was mentioned today is that there are people working to basically work with people from the Republican Party are working to work with people from the Black Caucus and like Native Alaskan people for or Alaska Native people for kind of picking their brain and figuring out, okay, how are you guys suppressed?
Mm-hmm.
What exactly, so that they can try to mitigate their fears while balancing, integrity to our election. For me, again, for this, so okay, but like for me, I'm like, why should voting for people that are going to be in charge of the city you live in or the state you live in or the country you live in be easier than going and buying groceries?
Right.
Or I just feel like some things shouldn't get easier. I mean, if you're going to make things easier, why not make gasoline pump into your car faster? That shit takes forever, but you're going to like allow for mass mail-in voting?
Yeah, and pumping gas, you're going to do it out there in the snow.
Exactly. There's a reason. I think of that. Like, what's their goal behind making, like, voting? Like, people go to concerts, people go to fairs, people go and to events, but
right.
You can't stand in line to vote. Like, I don't know. It just seems off to me. And what's interesting too is that didn't mail-in voting become like something like in 2018 here?
Yeah. Well, so no, not really. So some states were doing mail-in voting prior to this last year or the year before. So California, that's the only way that they vote. Obviously, they're Democrat.
I meant Alaska.
I think that it is.
It was right before. It was right before Berkowitz.
Yeah, it's new up here. I mean, comparatively.
Well, and you look at the bigger picture on all of this, and the whole conspiracy theorist thing. I mean, I hate that people just like lump you into this, like, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist because you are questioning stuff. But if you look at the quote unquote master plan, to basically make the United States socialist and this agenda that they're having, it sure does make sense to push mail-in voting. It sure does make sense to make it that way.
So next time someone gives you crap about looking into things like that, just say, hey, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I'm a scientist. I'm not joking, because guess what? The only way science comes out is if you question your results. So next time someone says you're a conspiracy theorist, say, nope, I'm a scientist.
Yes.
And then explain that to them.
We, Showers is trying to, it hasn't been brought to the floor yet. I know Reinbold was talking about that too. And she said, we're really working on it. It's, it might take a little while, but moving along, but it's just, kind of like for the long haul type of thing. I think Tiffany said something up there. I registered this year for the first time, undeclared, so no one would harass me about voting for Trump because I wasn't sure how it all works. Then my voter info got stolen. Oh, that's lovely.
See,
See, and that's another thing. There was like what, 100 and some odd thousand people whose voter voter shit. And do you know that I heard from my own ears from a representative that I won't name, okay, that there was a guy, IT guy, that knew about it being breached like days before actually saying anything.
here in Anchorage or nationally?
Alaska.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff that, and then people are like, "Oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist." I'm like, if our shit can get hacked, how is that made? Literally, they're admitting that it can get hacked.
Well, and
Like,
they've they've proven it. They've shown it on live video of somebody doing it. They did what they had like an 11-year-old girl did it. Was able to, and then one of the other guys that is a security person, he hacked it with like a friggin' iPad.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's super silly. I was just thinking that maybe maybe what we could do is restaurant workers, okay, have been restaurant workers and bar people and all that hospitality stuff has been impacted the most during COVID, and maybe we could reach out to hospitality people about making sure that they're registered to vote. I also would not be opposed to having an anti. Uh, I know it sounds super childish, but like maybe having a rally at Sears Mall that's like, if you support the lockdown or you support the way the city has handled the pandemic, or if you don't support it, don't vote Democrat or something like that.
so
I don't know if people clearly understand that this has been the reason we're in the mess we're in is because of the Democratic liberal assembly.
so
I don't know if they fully understand that.
Here's something that blows my mind, and you brought this up because I had an idea for the last election. And the biggest problem on the Republican side is getting voter turnout, and that's the biggest challenge that we have is getting people out there to vote. And obviously, mail-in voting is going to change some of that percentage-wise. But one of the hardest things in the world to do is to get people out physically to vote. So I had an idea. I found out later that it was illegal, and you cannot do this. And the fact that the Democrats will go out and do they'll go out to homes and help people fill out ballots, which is ballot harvesting. That's not illegal. It's supposed to be illegal, but they still do it. But I had an idea that, if people came into my business and they showed me that they voted, I'll either give them a free game or they'll get a free drink. Found out that's illegal. And you know what? It ends up being like a bribery thing. So, it doesn't matter. For me, it wouldn't matter who they voted for, just that they got out and voted. But if you're a conservative and you're giving drinks out to vote, now you're bribing someone to vote and you're changing their mind and so forth and so on. But I've seen all kinds of businesses do that down south where, they'll advertise it even. And I guess it's illegal. It's something against campaign, not campaign finance, but it's something to do with voter tampering or some crap. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of new to the politics too. I've been doing it for 5 or 6 years, but that was something I thought would have been a neat thing if you want to get voter turnout up. Hey, offer some kind of a special or deal. Yeah, and I guess you can't. Yeah, legally anyway.
Well, Stephanie said in Anchorage you can ballot harvest legally.
Then I think that's something that we need to start freaking doing. I know the Democrats do it in California like it's like nothing. I mean, it's like second nature to them down there.
Yeah. I know. Well, and that's the thing too, is that we've been so, since everything kind of popped up with groups starting and everything. I mean, think of the woman, that went around sending out the flyers and taping up the flyers about today's event. And there's been other people from Palmer have like tried to start stuff. Well, I mean, just all these different random people, and it's like we are so unorganized, and it's I'm wondering almost if somebody, a young person or anyone who wants to get involved with political stuff from the left or on the Democratic side, if like, how do I get involved? And it's like, oh, you need to go to here, and then it like brings them to some place that funnels them to some place.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder about that because conservatives are so independent, and we're so like, individual thinkers, and we think our ideas are better than the next person, and there's 75,000 people same thing, and so it's like, how do you get more people involved in networking and stuff, and not to mention, that's another thing that I mean, I remember a woman from Palmer, she was like, we need to start suing the municipality and the state. I'm like, yep, it's already been happening. Alaska's constitutional rights. Oh, okay. We also need to be doing this and that. I'm like, yep, already doing that.
So,
and I don't think people fully understand, especially out in the valley. Like, we've been doing this for months. And what mean by doing this is like showing up at the assembly meetings, showing up at our community council meetings. But the problem, I think, truly is a couple of things. Like, one, not everyone knows about us doing that, right? They think nobody's doing anything because nothing's being done,
mm-hmm.
right? Nothing's changing, so clearly nobody's doing anything. Not true. And then also another thing is that they're trying to compare. Okay, so Palmer tried to pass a map, and it failed. And the deputy mayor said, and I won't quote her, but she basically said, I'm torn on this one because my heart says we should pass it, but I have to listen to the people I represent. And clearly the majority is against this, so I would be voting against it. We don't have that in Anchorage, okay? We do not have that in Anchorage. It is not that. And so I think that there's this misconception about that. And then a third really is like getting people actually involved. I've told a few people, I mean, remember that meeting we had at Diamond Center, and they're like, we need to get order. I'm like, I don't mean to sound like the negative Nancy here, but like trying to get multiple, like hundreds of people involved at an event on the conservative side is like pulling teeth.
Well, and yeah, look at both of the groups that we've dealt with. Ours has got what 2,500, close to 3,000 people in it. Save Anchorage has got what 7,000 or 8,000 people in it, and we can't get 1,000 people out of those 7,000 people to show up for anything. We get 100. I mean,
yeah, and that's the thing about it. Like, I don't think people truly understand, that at some point have to stop bitching about it on the internet. I've been trying to think of brainstorming ideas on how to present easily community council. I do think that community councils are one of the most important long-term game plans. I also think the school district, the fact, and again, this is where my mind goes, is that we are like dead last state for school stuff,
mm-hmm.
or whatever. And what are they pushing so much at school boards? Equality. Like, it's very, very similar to me as Candace Owens' debate with like a Senate hearing, where she said, if I were to make a list of 100 things that are impacting the Black community, white supremacy would be at the bottom. At the top
Yep.
would be, Black on Black crime, fathers not in the household, on and on, right? And it's moving the spotlight from the real issue and putting it on something that's not that big of an issue. And it's very, and it's just plugging along, and nobody's doing a lot about it. And so I really like that there are some conservative candidates for school board. That's awesome. that we need obviously to infiltrate. That sounds like a bad word, but we also need parents at the school district meetings, the board meetings, voicing their concerns. The pressure has to be on. Another thing I wanted to hit on was the Jamie Allard recall group that has about 358 people.
Oh, it's grown. It was 250 something last time I seen it.
So, I mean, honestly, it's kind of a joke. They're not going to get that many people to sign that. I mean, there's just no way that they're going to get that many people to sign it. And also, I don't necessarily know if they have a actual case for being recalled. I'd be very surprised if it got approved.
No, there was nothing. She hasn't done anything that even brought up concerns with the ethics board.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that they could probably do that would get her in any kind of trouble is if they filed an ethics complaint.
And real quick before I continue my thought, Jennifer, I do agree Facebook is not the best. However, I'm not going to let people off the hook completely. Okay? The reason I'm not going to let people off the hook completely is that I obviously am an advocate of Taking Back Anchorage. So I go there every day, multiple times a day, and either post or try to react to things and read what people have, accept posts, blah, blah. But I also make a point of going to Open Alaska and sorting their stuff, looking at announcements. I go pages because it's a priority for me, right? So I know that it's not, Facebook makes it hard, but I'm not going to let everyone off the hook on that. I think the biggest thing is that you have to make it a priority. And I'm not suggesting that everybody with 17 children need to be at every assembly meeting and every ASD meeting and every this and every that. No, I'm not. But everybody, I'm pretty sure most people can sacrifice an hour to 2 hours once a month at their community council meeting.
Well, and here's another thing too, and this goes along with the Facebook stuff. So we know that there's people on there looking at the pages because we're the ones accepting certain posts. And we have so many people on there that are serial posters. And I'll tell you right now, there's one guy on there that posts at least 3 times a day. And I have yet to see him at anything. Anything. I've never met the guy. He's never been at any event. And I have a habit, and Sarah's got a habit, whenever we've seen you there, and if you show up at an event, we're usually the first ones to go over and say, hey, how are you? And welcome them to the fold, I guess. But when you have somebody that will post 3 to 4 times a day, we don't accept every post. But whenever you got someone that's trying to post 3 or 4 times a day and they won't go out and participate, won't go out in public. Now, I'm not saying that everybody can do that. There may be somebody that's physically incapable of doing that.
Well, that's the thing.
We understand that.
Yeah, and I know not everybody can go to everything. I'm single. I don't have, children, blah, blah. So my situation is different than a lot of people. So I'm not going to sit here and act like it's not. Okay? I know. I also know that people can sacrifice something. Even if it's, hey, you go listen in on, husband or boyfriend or whatever. You go listen in on the community council meeting tonight. I'll take care of the kids. Or I'll cook dinner while we're participating. It's Zoom. You don't have to show your face. You don't have to. I mean, it's easier than ever. So I don't know how to, this is how I kind of feel about it. If we had 2,000 people outside of City Hall, every day for, a week on end, I wonder what would happen, Weddleton, I keep thinking about it in the back of my head where he says, you're the loud minority. And
you know what? Like, we're proving it.
I know, but it's like, it's kind of like, okay, at some point though, the Alaska hockey group that's on Facebook that Louis started. I mean, there's so many people on that. There's I think like 2,000 about what Taking Back Anchorage has. And he asked, people show up with your jerseys on, and like 3 people showed up.
Yep.
And so, you know,
And the thing is they know that they can make an impact because they did this last summer.
oh, don't get me started on that. That makes me like it's like I think about that and I get real upset because Dunbar and Constant meeting the hockey people outside on the lawn after we had been protesting and rallying for weeks, like at least 4 or 5 different times, was like the biggest slap in the face of any slap in the face. I mean, it was just like when I saw that picture, I was like, motherfuckers. Like,
well, you know,
was so pissed. So they're picking and choosing what they care about. And that's the thing. That is what I really truly believe. There was real quick, I know you're about to say something. There was a TikTok I saw the other day where it was like, Candace Owens announces that she may run for president in 2024. And then it was a guy that goes, do you really think Republicans are going to vote for a black president? And like so many people were like, not duetting it or whatever, stitching it, whatever, and going, yeah. Like, I really truly believe that Democrats are way more inclusive, or Republicans are way more inclusive than Democrats are. I think that we are much more accepting of, I mean, like.
I mean, it's funny you say that because my favorite, whenever Trump ran, actually, I mean, I was for Trump, but you know, I didn't know how far he'd get. So at the time, the serious candidate that I was looking at was actually Ben Carson. I mean, who else would you want in the White House other than a guy that went to medical school and was a friggin' brain surgeon?
Yeah, no, he's a good guy too. Well, and that's the thing. I think. Well, that's where it's like, all this all this information and all this like propaganda. Like when I watched that, I remember thinking, God, that is what some of the Democrats think about conservatives, that we just don't like black people. And I'm like, what are like?
It's the farthest from the friggin' truth. I mean, I grew up with a little. I grew up with a little foster kid that was like my little brother, and he was black. I mean, we didn't make a big deal out of it at the time. You know, I mean, he was just another human being that needed a family.
Yes. Well, and Tiffany, if you like, what are they called? Community council meetings are probably the easiest for that because you don't have to show your face. You don't even have to necessarily speak up.
But just show up.
But once you show up and you show up once at yours, the next one you can vote. So when things come, because you guys have to understand, everything that happened with the hoteling started at community council meetings. So although the homeless hoteling that we rallied really kind of started off everything back in July and August. That all started at the community council meetings. So for the assembly, they made it through the community council meetings, which were more liberal, and then it reached to the point where it's going to be voted on. And so then, of course, people started realizing that it's going to be voted for or voted on because nobody was attending the community council meetings. And so then they get to this point where they're like, well, we're already so far in. And I'm not defending them by any means. Okay, I still believe that if you have that many people saying don't do it, you still shouldn't do it. I think it's better to say, sorry, we can't do it. I know that, we spoke to these few, maybe 60, 70 people at the different, community council meetings, but I have hundreds of people saying don't do it. So I'm not defending them, but I'm just saying that things start at the community council level.
Yeah.
And it's so important to be there. So being able to vote, you can say no or yes in the comments. You don't actually have to
Vocalize it.
Councils are really good for kind of getting your feet wet. And another thing is that if assembly meetings, again, you don't have to like talk. You don't have to go. It was just recently that I started testifying because I didn't want to either. I was like, I feel like I'm going to drop some F-bombs because they're going to make me mad. And I'm not huge, like, I don't know. I didn't really want to do it either, but they're not as bad as you think they are. So
Well, and and the thing is too, and this is something that I've been thinking about recently, and I wish I knew. And one of the things too that this is important, and we did this in California, and we need to do it here. So every year, the Republican Party hosts um, it's like a summit or something where it's a big, huge get together of the Republican Party or whatever. I think that we need to get as many people as possible to attend those because there's a couple different things that you can do. You can become a delegate. You can become an officer in the Republican Party. There's all kinds of different things that you can run for, and you can get elected to. But one of the things that I've been thinking about this, so one of the big drawbacks that we have is we are limited by our reach, and some of that reach is, we obviously don't have the media on our side. But I'd like to know how much money, if any, and I don't know if they even have anything, how much money the Republican Party has saved up because people have dues and all this other kind of crap and it goes into the Republican Party. Why aren't the Republican Party putting up billboards? Why aren't they putting up stuff that promotes the community councils? And, I'm just little stuff like that goes a long way. Something that people pass every day and remind them, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to sign into my community council. Because right now, if you look at the war on the communities, we're losing it because, like mine, for example, if you go on to Abbott Loop, mine's generally a conservative area. But if you go on the community council meeting, there's probably in my community council area, there's probably close to 50,000 people, maybe 40,000 people. I mean, there's quite a few. But you go on my community council meeting, there's max maybe 50 people. And that's if there's something on the agenda that takes someone's interest. And here's the thing with Zoom, we should be like bombing, and I don't want to say bombing them, but we need to fill it up. Yeah. And there needs to be 200-300 people on there, not 50. And, I don't care if there's liberals on there, but it should be balanced. Right now, mine, when I'm on there may be 4 or 5 other conservative voices on there with me. And I'm an officer in my community council, and I'm still silenced when it comes to certain things. It's like I didn't even get we have things that we're supposed to do. You're supposed to follow an agenda. You're supposed to give reports and stuff. And I'm actually the marijuana and the alcohol chair. So I'm supposed to give a report on certain things, whether or not someone got a license or whatever. I didn't even get to do that on the last one because they allowed the president, or the president allowed 2 presentations to run over by like 15 minutes apiece. Yeah. And they supposedly ran out of time, even though there's no time limit on a community council meeting. Yeah. So, yeah, we have to get on there and be on there. I mean, yeah, you don't have to say anything, but at least go on there. You'll have to give, if you're in the area, you may have to give your address. And the way we do it, you don't even have to vocalize it. You just type it in like a private message to the secretary. Yeah. And they document it. That's it. It's not that hard. Yeah. And it's public information, honestly. If your name's out there anywhere, it's not that hard to find out where you live anyway. So, well, Sarah, we've been on for 1 hour and 51 minutes. Yeah. I had today off because it was my birthday. So I think I'm going to probably go upstairs and pass out here soon. Oh, looky there. It's puppy. It's Nubbers.
Hi, Nubbers. He is a needy SOB.
I'm surprised one of my cats ain't down here bugging me yet. Usually I get one trying to jump on my lap about every 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, while I was gone, I left at like 5 and then I get home to like 9. So he's like, hello.
You're neglecting me.
Yeah. So, well, right. Thank you. And look at his puppy. Yeah, I do. I don't know how to. I don't know how to. And it's hard too because there's not a lot of places we can eat.
Right.
The Monday night meetings. If anybody watching is interested in getting more information on that, you can message me
Well, and
or Dustin.
I think
Um,
Bronson and or Robbins should be at one of these meetings. Honestly.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, and I'll message you a little bit about that after we're done. But
okay.
that's another thing that's kind of hard for us too, is that there's not. I mean, it's wintertime, though obviously people don't want to go outside. And if we don't have a place that can host it, it's hard to, um, you know, hard to
Well,
really do and hard to navigate. But I think one of the biggest things that we need to start with is getting commitment from people. Like, I want to help. This is how this is kind of just my schedule or my obstacles with helping. I
right.
can't. I have children, I'm good after 6 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
most nights, or I can do stuff during the day. And so, I don't know. I know springtime, is around the corner. So I do want to this summer have a big, like, cookout,
Barbecue.
something barbecue where we can just hang out and network and socialize. Not really anything like planning, but just more like hang out with each other.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I also want to make the Patriots Day rolling rally like bigger. I want to start advertising that in like July, to have people like come in from the valley. It'd be cool to like have it go all the way to the valley.
Right.
Have just a line of people, especially with the one thing that I noticed too, and I know we're going to get off here, but I want to make this point is I noticed something, and there was a quote I read that said, like, patriotism is loving your country no matter what, and your government when they deserve it. And
It's
I
the truth.
it is. And I noticed two people, no, there was three people on my friends list. As soon as Biden won, they're Democrat, they changed their background to black. And I'm like, that's the difference between me and you.
Yep.
Right? Like, that is, like, I will always love my country, regardless of who is in the White House.
Yep.
I will always love Alaska, regardless who is governor. And so, yeah, I think having a really big, everything that's going on in the country and how it's kind of Biden screwing everything.
I think me and you and a select few others need to commit and make a trip to Juneau, whether it's the summer or whenever. I think that we need to make a commitment there and go down to the Capitol and go inside, check it out, make our presence known. There's a few people in Juneau that I know. Josh Reback's one of them. I could probably set something up with him. There's a few other people that we put in there. I mean, I voted for a couple different people that made it through. And I think that me and you, and maybe, like I said, a select few others, could make a trip to Juneau and at least see, I've never seen the Capitol and I've never been to Juneau. I think it'd be kind of a fun trip to go down there and, make it a weekend trip or, during the week trip, whatever, and just check it out. Maybe cause some problems for the Juneauites.
Oh, it's super liberal there.
Oh, I know. They'll see me coming from a mile away, but anyway, real quick, want to send a shout out to everybody that sent me happy birthday wishes. Thank you very much. Love you all for that. I can't say how much that means to me. I'm not going nowhere. I'm in Alaska, so whether you love me, you hate me, you don't like, whatever, you're stuck with me. So you better get used to it. Let's just keep pushing forward. And I know it's tough. I know it's hard. Winter's almost over. Obviously the snowstorm, like the last couple of days, kind of sucked, but summer's coming.
I like snow. I mean, I'm ready for it to be done.
Did you just say you like snow?
I do. I love
Be
it.
damned, woman.
I love driving in it. When it like snows a bunch, I'm like, hey, let's go on a drive. I'm a weirdo. I know, but I can't help it. I mean, I love the summer. Summer and winter are my two favorite seasons.
Yeah, I'd much prefer summer lasts longer than winter.
Most people are like that. Most people don't like the snow. The only thing I don't like about the snow is shoveling it.
I don't mind the first 2 months of it. It's the last 6 months of it that I don't like.
It's not 6 months. It's like November, December, January, February, March. It's like 5 months.
Long
it
enough.
Used to be way worse.
That's true.
Back when I was a kid, we were trampling through like snow during Halloween. Like we would get snow in October every year. Like October through March.
There was one year I remember being up here. I think it snowed in May, and I was like, "What the fuck did I get into?" And that was the only year it did it. But I'm just like, "What the?" I could not believe it. So
you know what, Tiffany? Though I feel like we've been having a lot more falls in the last couple of years. Like not last year, but the year before. Halloween was so cool because there were still trees that had like fall colors.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it was like no snow, and it was foggy. It was like the perfect Halloween night. I was like, this is like a perfect scene from a scary movie.
But it didn't snow this year on Halloween, did it? It did the year before.
Yeah, it really, really has been pushing it back. I mean, we used to have snow. I think we haven't had snow in like September. You know, the end of September at one point. So, and we actually haven't had. I think the last actual snow day ASD had was when I was a senior in high school. We've had ice days, but not actual. There's too much snow,
right?
So, yeah. Okay.
Well, all right, we'll get off here, Sarah. It's always great having you on, and we will catch you up to you another time, and we'll just keep pushing forward. So,
thank you everybody for listening, commenting, and all that. It's always nice.
Absolutely, and we'll be back on another time, guys. We'll catch you later. You guys be good.
Bye.